Yo, what's up, tribe? Thank you for joining, taking some time out of your day. I appreciate you. Gratitude. We have a really special guest that's joining us today on the Leaders Create Leaders podcast. And I'll be introducing him in a little bit. He is someone that has become a dear friend of mine. He's had 13 seven-figure launches, working with the likes of like Neil Patel, Lewis Howes. He's also helped me with my own copy and my own funnels. But he's also the host of a really cool new show called Find Your Flow, and he's the CEO of a company called Project Evo. So we're going to be talking about flow state, guys. So do me a favor, if you know about flow state, right, you actually activate flow state on a day-to-day basis, I want you to comment a number 1. If you don't understand flow state, you don't know how to get into flow state, or you don't even know what flow state is, comment a number 2. And if you're listening right now, I'm really curious if you guys fully tap into just your flow every single day. So what's good, everybody? Real quick, Jared, what's happening? I see Evan in here. What's good, Alan? Okay, got some 1s, got a lot of 2s. Dope. You guys are gonna learn a lot. We're gonna talk all about flow state. I'm really excited about this guest. So do me a favor, guys, comment where are you coming in from. I love seeing how we have a global community from all over the world. I appreciate each and every one of you for taking the time to be here today. I love to just shout out your name. So if you want, comment your name. And then as I bring on our guest, Arman Assadi, I need you to do me a favor and give him a strong, powerful leaders welcome. All right, so the way that you're gonna do that is I want you guys to comment. Usually we comment flowers, but for Arman, I want you to comment an emoji that comes to you. It could be the lightning bolt, it could be the fire emoji, but something that represents power for Arman. All right, so I can't wait to see. I would love to see that. So who we got in the house? We got Belgium in the house, we got Orlando in the house, Chicago in the house, New York in the house, Seattle in the house, Belgium, India, Vermont, New Jersey. Yo, shout out to Jersey. That's what's up. Chris Agra. Welcome, Chris Agra. We got Sweden in the house. We got Cam from Santa Clara. We got Jean in the house. We got Chris Agra from India. We got Texas in the house. I love it. We got New York City, Vancouver. I love it, Vancouver. Yes, sweet. Look at this, yo. We have such a dope global community. So again, gratitude for you taking a moment, end of your day to just learn, to meet somebody new that can inspire you and that can pass some wisdom and expertise to you. So let's go ahead and bring them on, guys. Remember, I want you to bring them on with that power welcome, all right? So fire emojis, lightning bolt emojis. Give him the power, all right? He's a dear friend of mine. Please. The CEO of Project Evo, host of Find Your Flow, and a funnel expert with 13 seven-figure launches, my man Arman Assadi, yo.
What's up, G? Good to see you as always, my brother.
Oh, you're looking fresh, bro. Like you're got the London or Italy vibe.
Just covering up the quarantine here, actually. It's getting too long, man. It's getting too long.
I feel you. Oh man, I feel you. I started actually giving myself haircuts.
Yeah?
Yeah, like I actually, the other day I was just like snip, like.
Oh, that takes serious skill, man. That takes serious skill. My brother does it like a professional, and he was supposed to do it this weekend, but I decided to cover it.
So, dude, everybody's giving you a good welcome here.
Wow.
You got I see some like mushrooms, fire emojis, lightning bolts.
Oh yeah.
Some meteors.
Look at
so,
that.
guys, thank you for giving him a strong welcome. I really appreciate it. We got some watermelon and strawberries. I love it. Strong welcomes here. So thank you again, everybody who's joined. Arman, thank you, bro, for taking time today to join the Leaders Create Leaders live and podcast.
My pleasure.
Bro, I can't wait to dive in with you. You've become a dear friend of mine, someone that I really honor and respect. Just the amount of integrity you have, your character, right? You think about real leadership. And I always talk about like leadership comes down to character and how you treat people. And you've always treated me with such kindness, generosity, love, selflessness, always here to help me, help others along your way. You're also a very humble individual, especially for someone who has had the kind of success that you have had, working with the likes of Lewis Howes, Neil Patel, some of the greatest leaders of our generation, and helping many of them have seven-figure, if not more, launches. You've had 13 seven-figure launches. I want to dive into that. You also have the Find Your Flow movement that's happening with your show
Yes.
and Project Evo. So, bro, thanks again for joining. And why don't you,
Thank you,
while I'm
man.
hitting a comment, just tell us a little bit about, like, what has gotten you to where you are today, man. Like, you've been on a
Yeah.
pretty amazing journey. I just
Yeah.
give
Let me
people
turn
some
this light
context.
on.
What's
Yeah,
led
well,
you
I
to
have to
this?
say, man, there we go. A little more light. I have to say, you have treated me the exact same way. And I am just returning the same energy that I received from you. And you have been nothing but kind and giving and thoughtful and humble. And yeah, man, we really have developed quite a friendship. And I'm not good with dates and years, but I think it's been at least a few years, and we've gotten to do some really amazing things together, whether it be, work together on
Yeah.
projects, or go
Yeah.
on hikes, or go to your favorite meditation spot, in
Yeah.
Los Angeles, most recently, whiteboard things together, go to dinners. So it's been really incredible. My journey, it's interesting that you bring up these launches and some of the work that I've done as a consultant, because that's how we met.
Right.
And if I had not done something that I found to be absolutely ridiculous, which was respond to a friend's message who said, Arman, how would you like to do some copywriting for a client of mine? And my response being one of absolute fear, one of absolute, I just questioned the whole concept. I'm like, I barely understand what copywriting is. And I barely have even begun to scratch the surface of digital marketing, or the strategy behind a funnel, or how to architect a launch, let alone that does 7 figures or more. And in that moment, I actually really did have to step into a big level of fear.
Right.
And I mean, it took this friend of mine, his name's Adam Palmer, a little bit of convincing. Like, he had to nudge me a couple times. And I remember just kind of reflecting back and bringing up these fears of mine and insecurities, saying, what do I know about this? And he's like, bro, you get this stuff. You're smart, you care, you'll figure it out. Come on, just try it out. Like, and this was at a time when I was, doing my own thing as a solopreneur. But one thing led to another, and I worked for one client and two clients and three clients, and I never, ever marketed myself. I
Right.
never have once had to market myself. And that has led me to working with Neil Patel, who I'm going to be interviewing on my show later. I'll be interviewing you on my show as well
Yeah.
later. Now you're interviewing me. We work together. I've worked with Lewis Howes, Lori Harder, Jason Silva, all these various people, right? So I think it's really a remarkable thing when I look back at it, and it actually gives me a lot of gratitude right now,
Yeah.
because, we often listen to these leaders talk about stepping into fear. And that fear is one thing, like, to actually, it's something that when we actually consider, we go, okay, it sounds interesting, that's cool and all, but what does it actually feel like to do? And so many times we shy away from it with a story or
Yeah.
some sort of excuse. And that gave me a muscle to continue stepping into it. Now, to the point where also I really said, even as a solopreneur, I haven't made 7 figures. Let me go out and make 7 figures for me.
Right.
And now, having built Project Evo and created myself this Evo planner that is personalized for people, the Kickstarter launch, the Indiegogo launch, and now having built a multi 7 figure business,
Yeah.
it's again, it's like, it was a way of also a game to prove to myself, oh, do you just do this for others, or can you do it for yourself too? I had to really prove to myself that I could also
Wow.
do it for that purpose, through that
Right.
lens, not just through Kickstarter and crowdfunding, but Shopify, making it sustainable and
Yeah.
mastering that art and craft of building an e-commerce business, even an app, as well. So yeah, it's been a hell of a journey, man. It's been a hell of a journey. And now, building this movement and really wanting to step into talking to people like you about finding their flow, and how we do it, in the journey of deconstructing that, and knowing that it's not all, roses and unicorns and rainbows. It's real shit that we have to go through on a daily basis to find fulfillment in life.
Yeah.
And that's not easy. And I really enjoy that process of documenting my own journey of doing that, but also talking to people like you know, about it.
Yeah. Bro, thank you so much, man, for honoring me and opening up also the vulnerability of the fear that you had. Because I think, guys, comment if you have had that moment where, like, in your life, you know, you have someone else who believes in you and sees you at your highest potential, but you somewhat still don't see yourself at that level yet. And then you're like, you have a choice to make, right? Like, I've had people who have seen me and they've been able to be like, gee, like, are you kidding me, bro? Like, you're fucking Gerard Adams. You fucking built 2 8-figure companies. Like, go out there and you could go and freaking build the next level. Like, and I'm like, I don't know, man. Maybe it was luck. Like, I don't know. Like, how did it happen? You know,
Yeah.
like, you don't really necessarily know. And then you have a couple friends that are like, no, man, fuck that. It wasn't luck, man. You fucking created your own luck. Like, you earned this shit. You learned this shit. You put in the work. And then you're like, all right, you know what? Fuck it. You know, I'm going to step into the fear and I'm going to start another one. And that's when I started Leaders Create Leaders. So I personally know that feeling. I've had those feelings of sometimes being like fucking fearful if I'm going to be able to do it. And it's cool because I've also been in the position, just like you, Arman, where I had my first company was a marketing agency. And what I worked on was email marketing, right? I still have that company to this day of 18 years.
Wow.
Still a multiple 7-figure business where we help a lot of small cap publicly traded companies to be able to get exposure to a list that I built in the hundreds of thousands of investors that look for undiscovered companies in the marketplace, in the economy, right? And I remember helping all these companies, telling all of their stories online. And they were making freaking 7, 8, 9 figures. You know, I was making everybody else rich, and I was just like,
Yeah.
and I was making good money, of course, but it was like, I got to a point in my career where I was like, you know what? It's time for me to use what I've learned for my own, for myself. And that was the beginning of Elite Daily.
Right.
And it was fearful, man. I didn't have a journalist background. I didn't have, you know, I didn't understand startup. I never raised venture capital or any of that stuff. So I commend you for stepping into that fear, going and launching crowdfunding, and you crushed it. You've crushed it. And now Project Evo is doing multiple 7 figures. Really, really, really cool. So really quick, bro, like for someone who's watching this right now, that is in the beginning phases of they stepped into that fear and they now want to go and build their 7-figure business. You've done it as launches with copy as well as just as a startup. What advice would you give to that person right now that's ready to get to that $1 million movement?
You know, when you come across a product or a service that really deeply resonates with you, I believe that one of the most important reasons is because it speaks to you at a deep level, personally. You feel that the marketing, the messaging is directly and personally coming at you, as if they are there to individually solve your problem. Or the product is just so freaking cool that you can't help to have it. Now, one of the things that new entrepreneurs and even established entrepreneurs tend to over-focus on is creating the best possible product. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't focus on creating a great product. What I am saying is that creating a great product by itself is not enough. It's not enough to generate a movement. It's not enough to generate that deep physiological, emotional level response in an individual that compels them and moves them into action.
Right.
It's just not enough. And we've been taught this fallacy of creating the best product or service. And so what we do is, one of the things that saddens me is we often find the individual, especially the new entrepreneur, over focuses on the legal aspects of the business. I gotta patent my idea. What the fuck are you talking about? And again, I'm not hating, because I did the exact same things. I made the exact same mistakes. We believe we have to hold our idea in a secret little box and not share it with anybody, because someone from Ukraine who's doing the app development might steal it from me. No. They can't steal it from you. And even if they tried, it's about execution. It's not about the idea. It's not about the product. Do you know what it takes to execute and build a 7-figure launch? I think that people who've done it understand that, but people that haven't, I don't want to intimidate you and say it's not possible. It's absolutely possible. You just have to understand that it really comes down to the execution. Now let's talk about execution. What does it take? If it's not the product and it's not the patent and it's not the brilliant billion-dollar idea, unless, I make the example, I'm like, unless you are inventing self-driving cars and you're a brilliant engineer like Elon Musk, and you're a computer scientist, then fine, go and patent your ideas and do things like that. That's a different game. But this is not the game that we're playing. We're in a game of attention, as we know, where we have to compete with TikTok. We have to compete with other influencers. We have to compete with, or people that want to be perceived as influencers. Then we have to compete with, hey, I'm not an influencer. I'm a leader, or I'm a this, I'm a teacher, I'm a that. And throughout all of that noise, we have to draw people in and compel them to buy our product or service at the end of the day. So what does that? What actually does that? And what I found, and the reason that I became obsessed with messaging and branding and copywriting after my friend pushed me into it, is because I also realized it was the holy grail. If you want to control the outcome of your career and your launch, there are, I believe, only a couple ways. One is you become an absolute master of acquiring a customer yourself, meaning media buy, acquisition, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, just ad acquisition.
Yeah.
But even that comes with its own host of risks. You are subject to your environment, meaning what is Facebook going to do tomorrow? And it happens all the time. I know so many friends, I've been in this game like you for a while. I've been watching the world of internet and marketing and all these things for close to 10 years. You know how many times these great media buyers would get so disheartened because all of a sudden Facebook started banning, crypto ads or this ads, and their business would just tank. It'd be gone,
Yeah. Yeah. And that happened to my business. Elite Daily, they started changing the algorithm. Like I had built a business that was based on that, and it was risky. Luckily, we got acquired right before the big algorithm change happened, but we would have had to pivot and adapt significantly because of that algorithm.
Yep. So that led me to realizing the only person that can really come in and tell your story in a way that resonates deeply with a customer is either you go and you hire one of the best copywriters or brand strategists or launch advisors to come in and do that for you, or you learn the art and craft of creating that story, writing that story, and you've got to do it in such a unique way that it resonates deeply and takes someone who's never, ever, ever heard of you and deeply motivates them and compels them, and even, I would say, goes as far as triggering so many neurological responses, like literally brain chemicals that compel someone to want what you have. And there is an art to that, and I don't find that to be, there's a science to that, absolutely. And that's what it takes, man. If you want to create something that is grandiose and large and really creates a movement, and you know why that is so important as well, is because so many great products and services die because they lack the marketing. And it makes me sad. It makes me sad when I see so many people create these brilliant things, but then they focus 80%, 90% of their efforts on that. And it's time to release that bad boy, and they put the last 5 yards of the journey, the last 10% of effort on the promotion. Dude, no. In fact, it could be argued that that's 80%. The Pareto's principle, as many people know, how do you get 20%? 20% drives 80% of the results. Well, the 20% to focus on is the marketing. And in fact, I would say put 80% of your effort there, because that's really what's going to create a mass level movement. And that's what it takes. And it's not, once you dive in and once you really understand, so one key, like, tangible thing that people can practice and pull out, I go back to the beginning of what I said at the beginning of this question. Who are you selling to? Deeply understanding that person and realizing that you are not selling to everybody. We have this cognitive bias as human beings where we say, okay, I want to make $1 million. I want to sell a lot of this trinket, this thing, this service, this product. Well, then that means I need to reach a lot of people. In order to reach a lot of people, my message needs to be pretty wide. It needs to apply to as many people as possible.
Right.
Wrong. You lost. The moment that your message becomes too broad and you believe, and a lot of people believe that their product or service is for everybody. Maybe it is, but not today. Today, it's for one person. Who is that ideal person? We've heard this term before, the avatar, the customer persona in marketing. Just simplify it and really think about why, when you as a consumer respond so strongly to an ad or a commercial, it's because you feel it's specifically speaking to you and for you. That's what we have to focus on as entrepreneurs, as leaders of a message, of a movement. And this applies no matter what you're doing, whether you have a podcast, you know, like I'm launching mine, Find Your Flow. Who is my listener? Who is that person?
Right.
I'm not selling anything, but I want it to get their attention. Yeah. In a world of chaos, especially right now, man. Especially right now.
Yeah. I love it, man. And I want to bring something up too, because I do believe, you know, I don't want you to overlook what Arman is saying in the sense that, like, fuck the product, right? Like, because I know also on the flip side, a lot of people who focus heavy on marketing and it kills me even more when I see people who are fucking marketing like crazy and they sell a shit product.
Yes.
It bothers me way more than someone that I'm like, damn, I have empathy for, because they worked so hard on their product and they can't reach people. So, like, there's a happy, like, you have to have, it just doesn't have to be perfect. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing that Arman is saying is, like, you need to make sure that it can get results, but it doesn't need to have all those bells and whistles, like all those features of the app.
Right.
It has to, everything be like perfect. It has to get results, and it has to be quality. But then, like, you gotta be all in, especially today, in today's world, like in marketing, right? Like, how are you getting people's attention? And the way to do that is be polarizing. Be very specific as to who it is that you're looking to serve. And the more polarizing you are in the beginning, the more that you'll get that momentum and turn it into a 7-figure launch. And then you can start to broaden out from there.
Right.
So,
right. Oh, thank you for saying that, because that's so important to illuminate. Yeah. Like, you still want to create an amazing product. The worst thing you can do to somebody is have great marketing, lead them down your silly ass funnel, and then not deliver, because that is short-term thinking that will destroy your brand, that will destroy. I mean, we've all heard this as well. Like, one unhappy customer, that's 10 people. You know, they say in studies that they've done that at least 10 people that will completely go and shit on your product, tell people to stay far away from you. And it takes a lot more effort to get people to talk positively about your product or service.
And
so
what's tough, Arman, is that happens every day. How many of you, thumbs up or thumbs down, have gone through a funnel, have gone and bought a course or a product, and then it was shit, right? And then it jades you. For me, man, it was tough for me to start hiring coaches and going into masterminds and buying courses, because it was like, so many people were seeing this movement of, like, you can make money online selling information and knowledge. They were rushing to get rich quick. And then there was like shit fucking videos and just all based on hype. And it was one of the reasons why I was like, I want to step forward, because it is a stigma. And, like, there's got to be quality entrepreneurs, leaders, you know, people that have the wisdom out there that do this, like Neil, like yourself, like Lewis, like myself, you know, and, you know, I think it's really important for us to create. For me, I just take it's about pride more than anything. I think it's about, like, having nobility, pride, honor, you know, dignity, like those core values of you as a human being. Because, like, it doesn't feel good when you make, and you may disagree with me. For me, it's never been something where you feel good if you sell something that's, like, not quality and you feel good about it. What feels good? When you actually go and you actually do celebrate on that vacation, for me. Like, I'll never forget being
Yeah.
on that yacht with my friends and family and knowing you earned it and you did it the
Yes.
right way. You helped people, you built some
Oh yeah.
equality. It's the best feeling in the world.
If you don't have integrity, you're not going to sleep well at night. Or you'll convince yourself pathologically that you're doing the right thing. And, that's also a con. So, it's like you can tell yourself that you're doing the right thing. Why is it so dark? But at the end of the day, man, without integrity, especially, I mean, you and I, we know each other well. We talk about this a lot. I was going to say one of the reasons that you speak this way is because your products are world class. Your branding is world class. Everything you do is world class. And then when you add on great marketing on top of that, boom. And we've talked a lot about this idea where, like, dude, you're a guy who's built 2 eight-figure companies, who's done this stuff before. This is the person that the world needs to be listening to. Whereas instead, what we often find is, like, Joe Blow is like, learn Facebook ads from me. He's been doing it for 6 months. Man, like, that's embarrassing a little bit. Like, I think it is. I think, like, instead of, so then that leaves Joe wondering, well, then if I don't have the experience, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to sell? Like, because I don't want to insult that person, because we've all been there too, where we're not experienced yet. We haven't done it. So what am I supposed to sell? If I can't sell a course on this, you're telling me that lacks integrity. There's a million things that a person can do. You can create an e-commerce product. It doesn't have to be a course on your expertise. I think we're seeing a lot of that, of the build your online business. Let's let the people that have been doing that for a while teach that, so that people feel less conned in this industry in general. Look at Masterclass, right? Masterclass, each course is created by the world's foremost expert in that topic. So absolutely, I think there's a lot of things that we can do. It doesn't have to be something that we don't want to. We just want to do everything with integrity, exactly as you said.
Yeah, I love it. So what I say to you guys, and then let's talk about flow state. But what we would say, guys, just to end that, is, like, again, create a great product. Make sure that you're going to put a lot of your efforts into marketing that product, but do it by being polarizing. Don't try to reach everyone, because you'll reach no one. Be polarizing. And then also, when you're going to buy a product or a service or hire a coach or someone, vet them out. Do they have the results in their own life that you're looking for in yours? Make sure you vet them out, because there's so many really powerful. I think that's what's one of the greatest times in history for you to actually learn, because the people that have actually done it are creating these courses and YouTube channels and podcasts. Whereas when I was growing up as an entrepreneur, we didn't have that much access to all of these thought leaders. So really, really cool. So, bro, let's talk find your flow.
Yes.
Something that I want you to talk to, like, what inspired you to create this brand, Find Your Flow, and what does that mean to you?
I have been on a journey, man, like all of us, I think what it ultimately comes down to is understanding what makes a good life. What allows a human being to put their head on their pillow at the end of the day, every day, as much as possible, and feel that their life has meaning, feel that life is worth living, not just worth living, but there's joy, there's an ecstatic desire to wake up the next morning and get after it. Because I've been around a lot of people who don't feel that way. And at times in my life, I absolutely didn't feel that way. And when I look around and I tried to study these various leaders to think about not just success. When I think about finding your flow, and I think you've been on a very similar journey. When we first met, you had sold Elite Daily. And I think we got on a call, and I remember this very specifically. We were introduced, and you said to me, Arman, the reason I want to talk to you, and the reason I'm connecting with people right now in general, is because I just had this great success in my life. But I have learned that success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. And I believe you'd been to a Tony Robbins event and you talked to him, talked about that, you gave props to that concept. And when you hear that over and over again from people who have been achievement oriented in their lives, you have to ask yourself something. To everybody listening here, you really have to ask yourself something. If you believe that climbing the ladder and achieving the goals on your list is going to create fulfillment, you are simply wrong. And the reason that you are wrong, and what you will find, is that when your motivations are external, extrinsic, your life will feel like a roller coaster because you can't control the outcomes. No matter how much we try to achieve and attain our goals, along the way, our focus is constantly making this moment a means to an end. So here's where flow comes in. If this moment is simply a means to an end, like my goal is to be a New York Times bestselling author. You know, I used to want to do that, G. I used to say to myself, I'm going to be a New York Times bestselling author. No disrespect. I love my friends that are New York Times bestselling authors. I still would love to be a New York Times bestselling author, but my perspective on that goal has completely changed. It's secondary now. In fact, I believe that if I was to continue to live my life wanting to be a New York Times bestselling author, not only would I be completely empty when I get there, and the feeling would not be as good as I thought it would be. It'd be like, that's it? That's all there is? This is it? Just like what happened to Mark Manson when he became an absolute mega bestseller. All his dreams came true overnight. Books like that don't come around. The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck is the book I'm referring to. He specifically talks about this in an interview with Lewis Howes. All his dreams coming true like that. And then he's sitting around twiddling his thumbs going, what the fuck do I do now? And full-on depression.
Yeah, that's what even, it's crazy. It's crazy because that happens.
It
happens.
It's crazy.
The accolades, the money, the external things like you're mentioning, like, but for sure, it adds to your happiness. For sure.
Yes.
Because you're able to do the things that you wished you one day prayed to do. Like, you know, buying your family a home, or, you know, those things matter for sure. But there's just this one part that's missing. That's true fulfillment. Because life is this beautiful masterpiece. Like, it's not just about that. Like, there's so much more to it.
Right.
You know, for us. Yeah.
Absolutely, man. And, you know, you see that, you hear that, you experience that. You have to wake up one day and say to yourself, it's a realignment is what I've found. I talk about this in episode 1 of my podcast that we'll be releasing here. I'll give you a link and we can share it. But it's my concept of the flow manifesto. All we have to really do is realign our values to say, first and foremost, in this moment, if I am going to be achievement oriented, my life is going to be a roller coaster because I am then subject to my environment. I want a book deal. The agent says it sucks. I go to the agent, says he loves it. Publisher says it sucks. Publisher says no 36 times every day. Come home. Oh, put the head on the pillow. Fuck. Your life is constantly up and down. Or you get it, you're high, and then you come back down. The realignment that needs to happen, instead of making the present moment, and now this is more of a spiritual lens on this question of fulfillment in life. If we spend the majority of our life making this present moment just a means to an end, which is our goal, then life will pass by. And then all of a sudden, we're waiting for that moment to find our presence, and it's too late. Too many years have passed by. So the realignment is, who am I? The question that I love asking is, who am I? And as an adventurer, an inner soul adventurer, I know you've even experimented with psychedelics. These are great tools for, you know, really tapping into that question of who am I? This is deep work. And I have my own methods that have really worked for me. And meditation is one of them.
Yeah.
And what we find when we ask that question, when the stillness comes in, is what I am is an observer of this moment.
Yeah.
Because when I allow all that noise to go to the side and just really tap into the current activity that I'm doing, if I'm writing something, if I'm working on that e-commerce business, if I'm doing that launch, instead of making it about the outcome of the launch, I'm going to find deep presence, supreme presence in what I'm doing. And again, this is one of those things that's so simple yet so difficult. To actually bring this into action is very difficult.
Yeah.
But if you do that over and over and over again and really find supreme presence, which in that state, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, the person who I believe is the godfather of flow, refers to this as an autotelic exercise. An autotelic exercise is the opposite of what we were just talking about. The present moment is not a means to an end. The present moment and the present activity is all there is. You do it for the purpose of the activity only. And if you continue to do that, this is a form of, I believe, the optimal state of living. And then
Mastery, complete
those
mastery.
goals, yeah, man, you dive in and you lose yourself. You lose yourself and full flow state comes in. The chatter in the skull slows down, maybe even goes to the side. And that's when the magic happens for people. We've all experienced it. Why not get more of that? Because we all know we felt better when we experienced that. And then if you get that book deal on top of all this other stuff, cherry on top, baby. Cherry on top. And you can take care of your family and you and everything.
And I feel like what you're talking about is like, guys, you guys all, for me, like I love sports, right? So like recently there was this documentary on Michael Jordan in The Last Dance, right? Or we all know the great Kobe Bryant. Mamba mentality. You know, Michael Jordan, Kobe, they both would get into these like altered states. Now they didn't have to use psychedelics like I've experimented with, and you don't either, but they got into a rhythm, a flow that was because they were so present about the game that they were playing in that moment and focused on like every single moment they had in every time they played the game, that they ended up getting into this like momentum where they were, nothing else mattered. They probably didn't even, you know, care about what was out going on in the stands or who's yelling at them or what. You know, like, you ever notice how these players can take that game-winning shot, you know, and they're in flow and they make that shot because they're just so present in that one moment. And it's like, I just feel all of us, if you can start to practice and learn how you can become more present in every single moment, and especially as an entrepreneur, you know, it's tough, right? Like, talk to me a little bit about that, Arman, because listen, I grew up and I was told ADD, ADHD, and also, and to be honest with you, I do have attention freaking issues, right? Like, there's so much shit going on all the time, but I've had to learn how to do certain things for me so that I can execute at a high level, so that I can focus more, so I can be more productive, more creative, and be more in flow. But and no one taught me flow state the first 10 years of my entrepreneurial career. So if you're an entrepreneur, how do we tap more into that Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Mamba flow state?
Yeah, brilliant question, man. One of the things that is overlooked sometimes when we watch these documentaries, when we learn about Kobe, you know, when all those videos especially popped up after he passed, now that we're learning about MJ, we're seeing the true MJ, you know, these videos that have been talked about, being in the vault for so many years, that MJ was obsessed, that he was a dick, that he was all these things, that he was the ultimate competitor. The thing that I don't want us to overlook is, as much as they had insane goals and were achievement oriented, like, look, man, MJ wanted to be the greatest of all time. He wanted to win as many rings as possible. You know, when he got MVP and people were like, you know, yeah, but your team didn't win the championship, he was like, okay. So he was very achievement oriented. But what we tend to overlook and what we tend to reward as a society is the achievement part. If you really sat down with MJ and what he alludes to throughout the docuseries, and what every great artist, leader, athlete, entrepreneur alludes to, even like a Gary Vee, right? What does he always talk about? Obsession with the craft, with the process. What does that mean? When MJ and Kobe and all these guys are saying they were obsessed with practice, They were not at practice thinking about the outcome. They were at practice practicing. That's it. They were just straight up thinking about free throw, free throw, free throw, fade, 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 turn to my left, dip to my right. That's it. Just mastering those little movements so that when it came time to take the game-winning shot, the only thing on the mind was, I've done this. Boom. Just practice. We overlook that. And that is the definition of why they are able to, unlike so many other players, or why these greats are able to do these things, is they know how to tap into that flow state immediately. So what do you do to create that ultimate presence and more flow in your life? To your question, we also have to understand our personalities. We're all really different. I have been obsessed with psychology, which is flow is a pillar of psychology, the positive psychology movement, for about 8 years. Ever since I left Google 8 years ago, and I said, what am I going to do with my life? I became obsessed with this question of finding fulfillment and finding flow. And that led me down various paths. And what we find when we really sit down to take a look at this is that we're all very uniquely different. That led me to creating what's called my brain type assessment, right? Where we identify our brain type so that we know how we're wired. And I give that to people for free because people need this information. So if you're an alchemist, you're going to be a variety seeker. If you are an oracle, you're going to need space to think. If you're an architect, you're going to need order in your life. And if you're an explorer, you're going to need fun. And there are different triggers that are going to allow this person to thrive and step into flow. So the first most important thing, and that's why the question of who am I is so important. So if you are aware that you seek and thrive with variety, but it's easy to also get distracted, well, you have to work much harder than most people. The person that's like, I get more distracted than most people. My issue is that I can't focus. Well, guess what? My research has shown every time we survey our audience, which is hundreds of thousands of people, every time we find that the number one thing is focus. Everybody wants help with focus, man. Everybody.
It's also what Warren Buffett and Bill Gates have said is the number one characteristic they attribute to their success is focus.
Wow. See that? I mean, got to listen to those guys and how they do it. I know they both read every day, right? So when they read, and I know Bill, like, for example, does an hour at the end of the day. I know Warren Buffett, it might be even more than that, reads the paper, reads his favorite, editorials and things like that. He doesn't have his fucking cell phone next to him.
Yeah.
He doesn't have, he's not sitting in the kitchen where his family can bother him. He loves his family dearly, but he knows.
Yes.
He needs to carve out that special time, that sacred space.
Yeah.
You want to get results. It's not about putting in 12 hours a day.
Yes.
It's an hour or two of focus time in a sacred space that is your own. Like, even if you don't have a space, put up a fucking curtain and create a little space for yourself with a little incense or whatever inspires you and a special chair. I'm going through this book right now, The Artist's Way, which is more of a course. You may have heard of it. If you haven't, you've got to do this book with me, man. It's unbelievable. It's all about tapping into your creativity and unleashing that artist inside of you.
Yeah.
Whether it be writing or painting or speaking. And, she puts you, Julia Cameron, the author, she puts you through these exercises. And one of them is like, where is your sacred space that is only yours? Even if I lived in a New York City apartment, there's no space in there. But just like Tiff is saying, it can be done. It can be done. And even if you are a mom and you're managing 2 jobs, with the commitment, there is a way to do that. And the reason I say to try to commit to do that is because not only are you going to see the snowball effect of that focus, that positive outcome of feeling better at the end of the day, knowing that you tapped into this like deeper place, your higher self, something came through you, you got out of the way, you fully were able to release that artist inside of you. And it's not even us.
And like just execute. It feels so good when you actually get something done that you that you said you were going to get done. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
you actually completed it. Like I tell my
Yes.
team all the time, like my favorite 2 words, it's done. You know? Like,
And that's that brain chemical, by the way, too, going off, that feeling of checking off that box. And oftentimes we feel very misaligned and very upset with ourselves, and then that negative voice shows up, like, I've had this thing on my fucking to-do list for 3 months and I can't get myself to do it. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So if we build and cultivate the habit of daily flow and daily focus and sacred space, and even if you can't do it daily, that's okay too. Every other day, twice a week, start somewhere and create that time. Yeah. Like, be reactive. You're busy. I mean, dude, you're busy. Like you, Gerard, like you're an entrepreneur. You're running all these companies. You've got all these things going on. So you are inherently probably going to have to be very reactive. So I'll give an example as well. Prior to me jumping on,
I've done everything to switch that, because it's true. I used to be the entrepreneur where if you looked at my calendar, it was just like huge blocks, not organized. My Google Drive not organized. Like I was the busy entrepreneur for many years. And then I really started understanding how I can take control of my time. I can become that artist. And I started time blocking and routine and like really understanding how to get into flow by doing like 1 hour sprints, 2 hour sprints, completing a task, taking a break, meditating for a little bit, coming back. But you know, it took me some time to understand what worked for me.
Yes. And unfortunately, it's counterintuitive. For some reason, our brain seems to think that we will create more results by putting in more time consistently. However, stepping away from the work, doing a quick meditation, jumping on the pull-up bar, you know, that, and then coming back to the work creates much, much deeper results. And I want to give an example because it's really real, because it just happened. Prior to jumping on this right now with you, this live session, I literally, as I'm firing it up, get a text from my, you know, operations team member who runs, you know, everything alongside me at Project Evo. And she literally says, Arman, I have 2 very important emails waiting for you that are urgent, that need your attention immediately. I literally went, fuck. And I had to sit there, G, and think to myself, first of all, the thought has now injected into my mind. Now I have to make a decision. Am I going to go and check that email or not? If I check that email, not only am I further distracting myself, but I'm going to get into an anxious state right before jumping on with G. And I need to be present. And I had to make that decision, man. I felt my anxiety building.
Yeah.
I literally felt it. And I had to stop, and I put the phone down and I started breathing. And I said, the most important thing right now is that I show up, talk to G, and I am present with every single person who is giving us their time in this moment, because they're giving us their time. Yeah. This is a real thing. It's just like when MJ felt that responsibility and that commitment, like, you're coming to the game to watch me. That is, you're giving me your time, which is the most valuable currency in the world. So I had to stop and say, forget the email, forget the fire. That's huge. We probably lost a lot of money. Something happened. I know it has something to do with our fucking inventory. And like, it's going to be really costly. I guarantee it. But it can wait, because I need to be present here. And that, by the way, is how I got into flow. Is I paused and I concentrated on this moment. And I asked myself what was really important. And I said, I'm going to look right into Gerard's eyes, and I'm going to bring my presence. And even if I'm distracted, I can remove that. I can remove that, and I can be lost in this moment. And then I can bring my maximum value. And then you get people like Carissa saying, so glad I clicked on this live because I did that. And that makes me so happy. And I'm so appreciative of that.
I love it. Guys, is this valuable to you? If it is, drop a thumbs up or a fire emoji, and let's give some love to Arman. Look at that, right? Like, that to me is real mastery. He could have went and been reactive, jumped to that other thing, but he decided to be super present with us. And to me, man, I think that's beautiful, and that's why you represent finding your flow. So, bro, let's take some questions, guys. If you have some questions here, we have about 10 minutes before Arman's gonna jump off. The guy is a CEO of a multi-million-dollar business. He's also getting ready for an interview for his new podcast that's coming out. Make sure to be ready to subscribe to find your flow on the podcast. Let's take some questions here around flow state, around productivity, around any questions you have about what you've learned already on this live. Feel free to start commenting. But look at all that, man. Flames, bro.
I love
Thumbs
it.
up. Super
Appreciate
value.
you
I love
all.
it. Cool. So let's see. What would love to hear? What else you guys have read in 2020 so far? So real quick, fire them out. Like any books you recommend, Arman, right now that you read recently?
Wow. God, I used to only read one book cover to cover.
What about around flow particularly?
Oh, well.
Someone else just asked that question.
Yeah, I think one that actually people would really, really appreciate is called Deep. Is it called Deep Work by Cal Newport?
Deep Work, yeah. Deep Work.
Yeah. So I would highly recommend that for really understanding how to remove the distractions in a tangible, concrete way.
Yeah.
I think that's really, really important. If you want to understand the psychology of flow, the person I saw was a previous question as well. Who was the psychologist? That's Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. It's not spelled like how I'm saying it. So just go and type in flow book and you'll see MM. It starts with an M. And I would highly recommend that book as well if you're interested more in the nuances of the psychology. Any book around positive psychology for sure. But I'm constantly reading, man, and switching back and forth now.
Christy asks, what's the difference between flow and productivity, and how do you determine which is more important? Great question.
Christy. I know, Christy. Good to see you here. The way that I would define flow versus productivity, and again, I think she can answer this a lot better than I can. She's a PhD student in psychology, actually, who's been working with me. But I think she asks for a very specific reason, and that is that for me, productivity is focused on the outcome. And it's also focused on output. So when I'm trying to be more productive and I'm reading a book on productivity, I'm focused on more output.
Right.
When I'm focused on flow, it's autotelic, as I was saying earlier. I'm doing it for the sake of doing it itself. How do you determine which is more important? I don't know if one is more important than the other necessarily, because different times in our lives call for different things. Sometimes we need a lot of output. But I think that the one that creates more fulfillment is flow, for sure.
I love that. I love that. Let's see, Christian asks, and advice on how to accommodate your time to be a flow person.
How to accommodate your time. Well, maybe we go, I'm trying to find it so it helps me to read it.
One of the latest ones here.
Okay.
Like four comments up.
Oh, I see it. Any advice on how to accommodate your time to be a flow person?
How to accommodate your time.
I think that probably is going to tie back into what we were talking about before, this idea of what I'm referring to as sacred space. So no matter what's going on in your life, wherever you are, especially during this time that many of us are at home, find and carve out a space that is yours and yours alone, whether it be the corner of a room or an entire room or a section of your living room. And another way to accommodate, I think, your time is to think about getting up earlier, like really consider those morning hours, especially if you're a busy person and you have a family that you need to take care of. And you'll find that over and over and over again across every individual that you study that has created great results or says that they are creating a fulfilling life, that morning time is very, very powerful and very spiritual. That morning time, I think that a lot of that noise that's typically in our minds is a little quieter, and so we're able to be more creative as well.
So Bearded Broker asks, what helps you prioritize to get into flow in situations where you have many important and urgent tasks? Do you limit the amount of areas you can flow in?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, I gave the example of what was going on right before this call with you, but for sure, you cannot be trying to tap into flow around more than one thing. This is an individual exercise on one concept, one outcome, one exercise, very specific. Like, I am going to sit and brainstorm how to solve our inventory issue right now and move our manufacturing from China to the US. That's one of the things I've been doing. That's the only thing I'll be doing in that moment. So the most important thing, I think, because that person is asking, it sounds like they're saying, well, can I do multiple things at the same time? No. Make sure that you do one at a time and then move to the next item and give yourself a little bit of a break.
Yeah, I love that. So Tiff asked, how did you break past the plateau period in your business and scale up?
Yeah, great question. For us, the way that we really accelerated in the beginning was a world-class product. We were obsessed, as we talked about, with creating the most beautiful planner that was intelligent, combined with an app to allow the product to have the opportunity to create the marketing, because we talked about when you do have a world-class product, people will talk about it. But the 80% of focus that comes after to really make sure that this continues to accelerate was the marketing. So we did a crowdfunding campaign and we focused on making the best marketing video that we possibly could to tell the story, to make you on the other side feel that this is for you. You can go watch our video, projectevo.org. You'll see what I'm talking about. It's right on our homepage. But that video was pure obsession. And then, as far as breaking past another plateau, we also got obsessed with making sure that we could create sustainable traffic going forward. So whether that be influencer marketing, social media, or Facebook and Instagram ads, I went one by one and mastered each of those things until we hit a 10 out of 10 and then move to the next thing. Don't try to master 20 things at once. Go one pillar of your marketing at a time. That way you've fully filled the bucket before you move to the next thing.
I love that. So we have a question here from Jean. We got about 3 or 4 more minutes, guys. How do you make a process that works for you? I saw a bunch of people talking about this, like flow state, like it's kind of different for everyone. So what do you recommend in figuring out what is your best process to be in flow in life and in business?
Yeah, I mean, this is not meant to plug my thing, but it's really the reason I created it is I would identify your brain type to put language to it and understand what really is the trigger that's going to allow you to, we talk about it like a sense of thriving and a sense of what allows you to focus. Sometimes it's very counterintuitive. The example being some people that are very ADD at times or get distracted at times, or maybe in school they were always trying to have fun and they were getting in trouble. You might find that your brain type is actually telling you that that's what you actually need. There's nothing wrong with you. That's actually what you need. The institutions, schools, society was not built to cultivate that inside of you. You have to identify who you are. So the process that works for you is different from person to person because we don't all work the same way. So that can be done without the brain type assessment, but you've got to sit down and do some inner work and really analyze what has created results for you in the past and when have you felt your best. And reverse engineer that and do that over and over again.
I love it. Arman, bro, thank you so much. Real quick, can you give everybody, what's the website where they can go to find out their brain type to help them to create that process?
Yeah, so armanassadi.com/BTA is a link that'll get you there, BTA. Or you can go to projectevo.org and you should see a button. And obviously my website is armanassadi.com.
Okay, so armanassadi.com/BTA.
BTA.
Okay, so I'm gonna pin that, guys, real quick while I ask him to end this off strong. Arman, I want you to give me just one last piece of advice. Everything that's going on in the world right now, obviously this is a very unique time in human history with what's going on with COVID. It's really this unbelievable time of self-reflection for the entire planet, individually and as a whole. And I just want to kind of get something that's on your heart that you want to share with the community of conscious leaders that follow me, the entrepreneurs that follow me, the misfits, the rebels, the heart-led leaders that are out there. What is something that you would want to say to them right now with what's going on with COVID, and that is something that you would want to leave behind?
If there is a voice that you've been ignoring, and idea that you have about something, like if you're ever saying to yourself, like, man, I should one day, whatever that one day thing is, this is the fucking time. This is the gift of the quarantine. That's the way I look at it. This is the time to take action, no matter who you are, no matter where you are, because the pain is real right now. We're talking about unemployment levels that are up there with the Great Depression. Could be higher, actually, than what's reported, right? The pain is real. The impact that this might have on the economy, for some reason, is really dragging, right? It's like, it doesn't make sense what's happening versus what we're feeling. It just doesn't make sense. Let's not worry about that. Let's not focus on that. Let's focus on what is the gift that is inside of you that needs to come out. Enough waiting. Enough waiting. Like, if you're not going to do it now, that dream is going to die inside of you, and then you're going to be left with regret, which is the worst thing in the world. Nobody wants regret. Nobody. So just take the first step. You know, I took the step with this podcast of mine. This was the gift of the quarantine for me, man. I've been sitting on this idea for 8 years. Wow. And I literally said, enough. Like, enough. I have people like Gerard in my life that I can't wait to connect with and have on my show. What am I doing? You know, I've got to make this happen. I've got to make this happen. So please, whatever you do, just take the first step. If you get stuck, ask for help. Please ask for help. You know, ask me, ask Gerard, ask your friends. Know that you have a community of people around you that want to make your dreams happen as well. You don't have to do this alone. So that's the most important thing.
Powerful. Well, guys, do me a favor. Drop some emojis to give him some love, some hearts. Bro, thank you so much. And
thank you.
I appreciate you being a friend in my life. I'm always going to support you. I make sure that everybody is going to know about Find Your Flow. I can't wait for my episode. We're going to be doing it shortly. But I'm proud of you, bro. I really am. I'm really proud. I'm happy for you. You also are newly wed. So God bless you and your life and the life that you're building, the empire you're building, the impact that you're creating, who you be. I see you, brother. And I love you, and I'm here to support you always. So thanks for taking some time to share with our community. And I'll let you know. I'll send you a folder with this when it goes on the podcast. And go continue to find your flow, man, and bring that flow out to everybody else.
Love you, bro. And much love to everyone that was here and everyone that will be listening. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Be the leader. Peace.
Thank you, bro. Peace.
All right, guys. So thanks for taking time. Another live stream. Today has been a pretty powerful day for me already, because I woke up and I don't know, something wasn't feeling right. I wasn't feeling myself, but I pushed myself through, picked myself back up, and decided to come on this live and be present with all of you. You know, I wasn't feeling myself. You know, so you know, sometimes it's not always easy to find your flow, but you know, just make sure you take care of yourself. Make sure you put yourself first. Make sure you align yourself to doing what you want to do, what you love doing, because I know that this energizes me. You know, if you want to find your flow, do the things that energize you. Get rid of all the toxic shit in your life that doesn't energize you. That's like one of the first things. If you're not feeling aligned with your work and your career, quit. It's scary, but quit. Change. Do something radical. If where you live is not inspiring you anymore and is toxic, change your environment like I did. Move from the East Coast to the West Coast. You know, maybe you need to let go of some of the toxic relationships in your life like I did. Let go of some of those friendships. You know, go and realize there's other people out there that are going to align to this new version of you. But like Arman said, this is the gift right now, to align yourself, to find your flow, find the thing that you love, to find the passion inside of you that you want, find the artist inside of you, find the thing that you want to go out and create that's going to energize you, that's going to give you that fulfillment, and go and attack that every single day. And most importantly, finding your flow is not just about your career in business and entrepreneurship. I love that. I love being an artist. I love being a conscious creator. I love being a heart-led leader. I love going out there and building businesses. But it's also about being in flow with life. If you follow my Insta story, I'm going and taking breaks and going and hiking. I'm jumping in, you know, lakes that are nearby. I'm going and I'm reading. I'm you know, working out, I'm going for walks, I'm having deep conversations with my sister and her partner, Sarah, about life and about things that were about death, you know, not even just about life, talking about deep conversation about all types of things. And I'm doing things to be in flow with life. And I think flow to me is when you're fully integrated with life and business. Everything you're doing is in the moment. You are fully present with that moment. And whether it's, there's no good or bad, there's just truth. Is this true for you right now in this moment? And it's like realizing that even the things in those moments that are tough, it's like, all right, like embracing that, acknowledging that, knowing that that's only going to create more growth for you, you know, and just and make sure that you also just take care of yourself. You take care of your mind, your body, your soul. You're energizing yourself. You're looking at your body right now at a time like this as a temple, right? How can you treat your body like a temple? How can you create an environment like a temple? Like the place that Airbnb that I got here in Sedona, I wanted to make sure that it fit my needs as a temple. So a place that I can meditate, a place that's near nature, a place that, like, you know, is inspiring. So make sure your home where you work is your temple, is sacred, you know, so that you can get into flow. You can make sure that you are, you know, inspired and that you can be, in flow. So hopefully, guys, this was inspiring for all of you. This energized me, which I needed because I woke up and wasn't feeling myself today. But this, you know, new day to shift that energy. Right now that I did this live to help shift my energy, brought on, you know, Arman, it's getting me back into flow. I can hear just the way that I'm talking. And now after this, I can go and meditate, take a walk real quick, and then get back and then do my deep work. Deep work is like when you block off that 1 hour or that 2 hours, or sometimes it may be just 20 minutes, but you schedule it off for deep work, meaning no distractions. My phone's not near me. I'm not freaking, you know, letting anything really distract me. Phone calls, social media, none of that. I'm just sitting down to do whatever that task is, whether it's to write that email, whether it's to, you know, to write my book, whether it's to shoot that piece of content for my team, whether it's to, you know, to strategize on how I want to take my marketing or my business plan to the next level. But it's like setting that time to do deep work and only focusing on that task and nothing else. So think about how you can do that. All right. I appreciate you guys for being on here. I just dropped a new podcast today with my boy, Dave Meltzer. Super powerful. So powerful. So go and check out the podcast on Leaders Create Leaders. If you do, screenshot it, tag me on your Insta story. I'll repost you. And of course, I appreciate you guys. If this was valuable to you, definitely let me know in your story or go comment on my last pick. Let me know. And I'll see you guys for the next live stream tomorrow. And find your flow, all right? I appreciate you guys. Be the leader. Peace.